Welcome back to my channel and a very special welcome if you're new here. My name is Jen. I'm a certified weight loss and nutrition coach, and today we're talking about saturated fat. What is it? Is it unhealthy? I'm going to share with you a lot of information on whether or not you should be including saturated fat in your daily diet. So if you're excited, give this video a big, huge thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and your bell's on because I upload new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Check out the description box down below for nutrition coaching. I do offer personalized to you macros and calories, as well as one-on-one coaching if you would like to chat with me directly. Links and discounts to my favorite healthy things are also down in that description box. So let's talk all about saturated fat. What is it, and is it unhealthy? We often hear that saturated fat is unhealthy and can increase your risk of heart disease, but this isn't necessarily the case. There's a lot of conflicting studies out there on whether or not saturated fat is as bad as we think that it is. All the recommendations of low-fat diets have been swarming the diet industry. Over the last few years, though, we've seen that trend go away a little bit, and talking about healthy fats and having fat in your diet and that being essential seems to be the trend when it comes to losing weight and maintaining weight. Of course, there's a difference between saturated fat and unsaturated fat. So why does saturated fat get such a bad rap? Before we talk a little bit more about saturated fat, just a reminder that the macros or macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. All three of these are essential for a healthy lifestyle. Yes, fat is essential, and yes, carbs are essential along with protein. There are three main categories of fats: unsaturated fat, saturated fat, and trans fats. All fats are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen molecules. Saturated fats are saturated with hydrogen molecules and contain only single bonds between carbon molecules. On the other hand, unsaturated fats have at least one double bond between carbon molecules. This saturation of hydrogen molecules results in saturated fats being solid at room temperature, unlike unsaturated fats such as olive oil, which tend to be liquid at room temperature. Keep in mind that there are different types of saturated fats depending on the carbon chain length, including short, long, medium, and very long chain fatty acids, all of which have different effects on health. So that's kind of the way to determine whether the fat that you're incorporating is saturated or unsaturated. Saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. Saturated fats are generally found in animal products and tropical oils. Some foods that you're going to find saturated fats in are things like milk, cheese, butter, meats such as pork, beef, lamb, and poultry, and coconut and palm oils. As we know, there's a controversy about saturated fats. Healthcare professionals, doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, weight loss, and nutrition coaches will say saturated fats are bad. That isn't necessarily the case, but unlike unsaturated fats, incorporating some saturated fat in your diet is great, but you do need to watch how much you're incorporating and how often. The reason for this is studies show that a lot of saturated fat in your diet can increase your risk of heart disease. This is where saturated fats started getting a bad rap, is they were saying they contributed to heart disease and obesity, which is true if overconsumed. But having some saturated fat in your daily diet is actually a necessity because we mentioned all these amazing foods that contain saturated fats naturally. Some of the impacts saturated fats can have on your health is it can increase your LDL or your bad cholesterol, can lead to heart-related diseases like heart disease. Some other things that saturated fat can lead to is increased inflammation, cancers, and even mental decline. This is when saturated fats are over-consumed. If you're someone who eats a lot of fast food, pastries, bakery items, lots of red meat, that's where you can get into a little bit of trouble with saturated fat. But sprinkling these into your diet and having these on a semi-regular basis isn't going to lead to a lot of these health diseases. Sometimes the health industry in general can use scare tactics to keep us on a healthier path. Nothing is off limits when it comes to food. Nothing should be eliminated, but some foods are obviously a little bit healthier than others, and saturated fats should be eaten in less moderation than unsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Kind of like food, not all saturated fats are created equally. For example, a diet high in saturated fats in the form of fast food, fried products, sugary baked goods, and processed meats is likely to affect health differently than a diet high in saturated fats in the form of full-fat dairy, grass-fed meat, and coconut. Another issue is focusing on the macronutrients in whole. What are you replacing saturated fats with? That can also lead to health-related issues as well. It's not all tied back to saturated fats, and inherently saturated fats are not unhealthy. So how do you include saturated fats into a healthy diet? How do you make sure that you're not over-consuming them? I want to share with you some really great sources of saturated fats. Coconut products, including unsweetened coconut flakes and coconut oil. Grass-fed whole milk yogurt and grass-fed meats are just some examples of highly nutritious foods concentrated in saturated fat that may actually positively affect health. In fact, full-fat dairy is a much better option than reduced fat or fat-free dairy. Those are much more processed than the full-fat form. And a lot of times with low-fat and fat-free, things are added to make them taste good, so we want to eat them. Some of those ingredients are not things that we should be putting in our body and are inherently worse off than saturated fat. So when it comes to dairy products in general, choosing a whole milk dairy product is a much better option. What you want to be mindful of is other things like fast foods and baked goods that are high in the really unhealthy saturated fat. Those should be eaten in much more moderation than full-fat dairy and meats and cheeses. It's all about balance. You can incorporate saturated fats into your daily diet. Just focus on 80% of the saturated fats that you're consuming being in a healthier form, such as the full-fat dairy, cheeses, and meats, and 20% of that in things like fast food and baked goods. You don't have to eliminate anything from your diet to lose weight, maintain that weight, or really overall live a healthy lifestyle. So what's the bottom line of today's video? Unfortunately, saturated fats have been viewed as detrimental to health and weight loss for decades, and this just is not the case. Even those less healthy unsaturated fats should still be included in your diet to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Having the right balance of macronutrients, including the right balance of saturated fats in your diet, is really, really important. Focus on that 80-20 approach. 80% good saturated fats, 20% maybe not some of the best saturated fats, but saturated fats that taste delicious and help you live a balanced lifestyle. So if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a big, huge thumbs up. Of course, leave any questions, comments that you have down below for me. And of course, check out the description box for nutrition coaching, links and discounts to my favorite things. And of course, subscribe, turn your bell on so you never miss a future video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.